Hello, and welcome to another episode, yes, another episode of Amiga Retro Adventures. And today, we will be featuring the individual computers 64R Mark III. No, it's not. It's the Mark II. Yes, that's it. The Mark II. They haven't made a Mark III yet, but perhaps I will do a future video of that? Yes, but anyways... So ignoring the box that says 30 on it, and among other things, and an X, of course, because X marks the spot, we will open the box and see what this fine board is. And just in case you don't know, it's a brand new board that accepts Commodore 64 chips, which of course you have to find yourself or get them off eBay. And it populates the motherboard with ZIF sockets and then gives you a brand new functioning Commodore 64 with slightly more reliable components. That out of the way, let us open the box. Carefully, of course. There we go. And inside the box is an item. And that's actually a good place to start. So I shall take out said item and set this down here and move the box out of the way, which in my case is on the floor. Okay, so I shall take the motherboard out of the box and give you a tour, if I can get it out of the packaging. Yes, here we go. Excellent. So there's the board here. I'll move this out of the way. There we go. So there's the board in its entirety. You have the multiple ZIF sockets, basically insertion force sockets for various motherboards and whatnot. This is getting annoying. There, let me just throw that on the floor with everything else. Much better. And as you can see, it also has the standard user ports on it as well. So you have the cartridge slot. There's an addition of where the RF used to be, basically the selector and the output. You have a 1/8 inch, here, bring it a bit closer, stereo jack and stereo, yes, and I'll show you why. And also a Super VHS output as well. You also have your standard video and your standard input-output interface here as well. You also have your cassette port there, and you also have your user port here as well. There we go, maybe it's a bit better. So user port, cassette port, I/O port, and your video port, as well as the Super VHS and the 1/8 stereo jack. And on this side, we have the two joystick ports, of course, power switch, and a 12-volt basically DC socket. As you can see, if I can orientate this better, right there. So there's your 12-volt DC. So this actually, it doesn't come with a power supply, though you can order one off of their website. It's basically 12 volts, as you can see. Center is positive, negative outside is, that's your standard configuration, is ground. And yeah, 1 amp, I believe, power supply would be sufficient. I always like to get a 2 amp 12 volt power supply. That way, powering all the extra peripherals you can plug in and whatnot to hear your ports or whatever. I always like to have a bit of overhead just in case, to give it a bit more power than it needs. And the good thing about amperage is that it'll just draw what it needs, but you got to make sure you have at least enough for all the electronics. So that's it. So that's pretty much the board here. And it's the C64 Reloaded, that's what the R stands for, there we go, Mark II. And this is the newer version of their board. I think it's about a year or two old, probably closer to 2 years old now. And that's pretty much it. Now this can fit in a standard case, either the bread bin or the 64C type case, or you can also order a new case to put it in, which I actually did that. So I'm going to set this down gently here, and I'm going to go get the case that I ordered, and I'll be right back. And I have returned. And as you can see before you is the C64C case. So it's the newer style of the Commodore 64 case. So the non-bread bin variant, which was quite common near the end run of these computers. What I like about this box is you can actually use it to put everything back in again, because I'll show you why. 1 second. So inside here, I will try to open this up the best I can without wrecking it. There we go. And you don't want to wreck it because it's actually quite usable. you open up the box and you are presented with the case. And what's good about this, I was mentioning before, you can put your power supply and all your parts you want in here with the new case. But let us see the new case. So I shall take this out like so. Just one moment, trying to keep this in frame here. Okay, it's actually easier to take off the one side and then just pull that out like so. And yeah, there you go. I'm trying to hold this back far enough because it takes up so much room. And it's the full-blown case, brand new, from brand new molds, I guess. And it has all the configuration, like all the holes, everything's in the position that it would be on the actual mold from the actual computer. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the Intellivision C64 Reloaded MKII motherboard into this case. Excellent. And I shall be right back. Back, I say. And I have returned. And there's the case. I also ordered with this case I guess it's I can't read this, bicolor LED with cable. It doesn't, the LED of course gets mounted here. You can use the one off the original Commodore 64 if you can remove it, or you can order a new one. This one's two color, so you can have it, red or green. Yeah, right there. If I could read properly, red or green. So we'll see what color it is when we turn it on. It's probably for functionality. I know I've seen on some videos that if you specialize certain boot ROMs, you can have it, like a ROM selector, you can have it change colors depending on which one you're using, like Jiffy DOS, let's say, if you have that in there, or something else. But for me, I don't care on the color specifically. I'm pretty sure you can change that, but we'll worry about that when the time comes, actually. Put that aside. I ordered two because just in case, I guess. And it comes with the screws for the case and probably mounting of the motherboard, so we'll find out about that. And this too, you have to order extra. If I can get this, it is if I can get some glare not to happen here, perfect. It's basically the badge that goes on the bottom of the case, right here. Right there, because nothing would be complete without having, because the original computers would have had the serial number and manufacturing date and all that stuff on there, or something to that effect. So we will put all that together and see what happens. I will go get the board and I will be right back. Actually, before getting the board, perhaps I should take this apart. So if there's no screws in it now, it should just clip on carefully and then pivot. There we go, you can see the hinges there, and it pulls right off. So I'm going to set this aside, and then I'm going to put the sticker, the badge, on the back of this. So let's turn this over, and put it at a bit of an angle so I can get to it, since the camera is slightly in the way. And it looks like this just peels off like so. Yes, it does. And now I will try to line this up. I am not very good at this, so be gentle with me, because I will try to line this up the best I can. Aha! I have returned. And as you can see, it is mounted pretty well spaced. There's of course that traditional air bubble that's in the middle there from the molding, but overall, that looks pretty nice. Makes it look very official. Yes. So now I will attempt to mount the board into here, which just happens to be sitting over here on top of the stove. Okay. And now we will put this inside the case. Sorry about that. My memory card ran out of space. Go figure. So as I was saying, I will now put this board inside the case. But one thing when I quickly reviewed parts of my clips, I forgot to mention. There you are. This port here, it's the standard USB mini. That's actually used to program the FPGA on here for various configurations of this board. Because I mentioned before about the stereo output of this jack. Now you can use a regular monorail output, right, on this jack here. but you can also use the output on this, but you can get stereo out of this because if you'll see here, there we go, the SID chips, and both of them, you can put either the older style chips or the newer style chips into the socket. So a single chip will go into this ZIF socket here only, and if you have an additional one, you can put it in here. So and the advantage of that is, because there's been various projects out, you can switch between the two if you prefer the sound of the older chip versus the newer one, or you can also just run them in tandem in stereo. So you can either use both of the same type, or you can mix them. The board will automatically know the proper voltage to send to the newer chip versus the older chip, so you're not going to fry anything. Everything will work really well. So anyway, the same thing too is about the something I wanted to mention about the VIC chip that gets put in here. It accepts any version of the VIC chip, and it will regulate the voltage according to it as well. You can configure it, like I said, through this header here for the FPGA that controls all that. So you can either be PAL or NTSC. But anyway, that's enough of that for now. But what we're going to do is install this into this case. So here we go. Should have mentioned all that earlier, but oh well. I seldom script. Actually, I never script my videos. Maybe I should in the future, but it is what it is. So I need to put it in on angle first, because you have to get the whatchamacallit, power switch in first. There we go. Much better. Put that in there like that. Excellent. So it is in, and now I just have to get the screws into the board, which they happen to come with, which are right here. Now another thing you need as well, to mount the keyboard, you need to also buy extra. These are the keyboard adapter plates that mount on the side. There's two of them for each side, left and right. And there's also the, get my hideous hands out of here, there's the Allen key and other various parts. Looks like these top ones are for the keyboard. It has instructions, which is good, because I have no idea how to use some of this, so we shall discover this together. So basically, when you buy this, oh, sorry about that, you just get the board. You have to buy the power supply separate, you have to buy the LED here. If you want a different LED, you can use, like I said, you can use one off the existing case, but you could buy the LED. Now this is from PixelWizard, it's not from the same company as Indivision. Indivision does sell this here, which I just showed you. As you can see, it has their name right on it. So you can buy these when you order the board. But anything from PixelWizard is a different company. That's where the case came from, and the LED that I bought as well for the case. And like I said, all the chips are going to be your own sourcing. I believe you can buy the SID chips. You're allowed one or two, I think one when you order the board. And they do sell them individual computers. I think they bought some new old stock. But anything else, CIA chips, CPU, all of that fun stuff, you'll have to source on your own. Okay, so I'm going to try to put the screws in here, but some of them I'll have to wait on, because I believe the ones I'm pointing at here will be for these brackets. So I'll do the easy part first, is the screws in the top. So give me one moment. And I will open this bag, and I also noticed there were some feet on here. Yep, that's the sound of screws, alright. Here as well, which aren't for the bottom, or are they? I have no idea. I don't think so. Actually, they are, because they came with the case. There we go. So they should go on the bottom. Yes, right here. That's, oh, any second now. Right, so the feet go on the bottom. Ah, excellent. So that's what the feet are for. So it's not like they go underneath the board or anything. They're actually for the bottom of the case. Always good to know. Good to know indeed. So first thing I'll do is put in some screws, like I was gonna before. Let's see what I can do here. They are Phillips. They are Phillips indeed. So this one lines up here. I said it lines up here. They look like they're the same type screws. Yeah, they're self-tapping by the feel of it as well. Yeah, I'll show you a bit more. And so that's the one there. So I'm not going to bore you to death with all the screws, but it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe close to 8. And once I get to the brackets, I'll show you how it was all done. I will be right back. Hello, I have returned. I had this board pretty much mounted in with these screws here, but I did something that most men don't do, is I actually decided to read the instructions since I was having issues getting these brackets on, and I'm glad I did, because though it's partially in German, there's also enough English on here for me to decipher what's going on. It's actually German and English, of course. Like usual, I started reading the German first, and I realized I don't actually understand German, so perhaps I'll stick to English. But anyway, so what I need to do is the bracket in question, this one, actually has to go underneath the board. So the board was already bolted down. Kind of hard to get this in there. So that was causing the misery. I'll show you why, if I can get this out. I'll put this gently to the side here. Perfect. I was trying to put this on like that, and there's no way it can. Like, there's no way it lines up to that hole. Never. And then I realized, oh, it goes here. Yes. See the power of instructions. Yeah. Okay. Now we may continue. So those go on first, and there's a rubber grommet here that goes over top according to the instructions, and who am I to argue with those? And that's already in there. And excellent. And then I think that the rest is pretty straightforward. So I will continue with this now that I know what I'm doing. Without wrecking anything, I will continue. So I will be right back once everything's installed. And there we go. Excellent. As it turned out, instructions come in very handy. Yes, this goes under the board, not here. This is for the bigger board. So if you have like these holes here, or mounting points, I should say, are for the larger boards versus the short board, which these are called. So now what I will do is I will, because I have to put the keyboard on, I need to put the chips in first. And as you can see, if I can zoom in here a bit, there you go. You can see it's SID 1 and SID 2. So if you're only going to use one SID chip, you populate this one. If you're going to use two, you populate the other. And the configuration on how this behaves, either stereo or whatever the default SID is, like if you want the, I guess, a slightly warmer sound of the original SID versus the newer one, you can tell which one to use, and you can configure it all through that port I was talking about here, the programming port. It's basically programmed through a terminal program. And the instructions and all that are on Wiki from the individual computers. So we're going to install the chips, and like I said, you can get the SID chip, the newer one, which is right here, carefully, which is the, yes, it is the 8580 right there. So that's the newer SID chip. And so I'm going to put that into this socket first, since I know where it goes. And the beauty of zero insertion, or insertion force, I should say, insertion force sockets is they're really easy to put in. So wherever these are here, these handles, that's the top of the chip, which of course is always the notch right there. So I shall put this in here. So there's the SID chip, and then lock that one down. So that's the 8580 in place. I believe, and it's all marked on the board. It's really easy. That's CIA2. Of course, it doesn't matter which CIA chip. They're identical. Just make sure you populate them with the correct chip, which is the 6526. And I got these ones off of eBay. And what's nice is if these do ever blow, they're easy to replace because they're in these nice little sockets. Let me get my arm out of the way. And just remember, it's not really marked on the board, but these levers are where the top of the chip is, so wherever the notch is. And here we have the CPU, which can be 6510, I believe, or the 8500, and I got the 8500 off of eBay. I do have about 2 or 3 Commodore 64 motherboards in fully working condition. I did not want to take parts off of them. So they can be a bit expensive, but I got it off eBay. That way I didn't have to sacrifice the parts for this board here. Oh, made a mistake. I don't have the... It's kind of hard to get to. I can't really get my finger in here, so just carefully use a screwdriver, and there we go. It's flipped up. Once again, make sure the orientation is right. You do not want to get that wrong. You will find out in a hurry. Okay, and that's locked in. So there's that one in place. Yeah, so the 6526 is the other CIA chip. Bit of chip confusion going on here. Okay, and same idea, the top notch to this side. It's locked in place. And then the 8565, which should be your PAL variant of the VIC-2 chip, the newer series. Oop. Make sure that's mounted correctly. Okay, and then lock that down. There we go. So I'm just going to double check that all these are fine. So they're all in place, as you can see. And because you don't actually obviously want the wrong chip in the wrong socket, because that would be bad. So just to double check, we have the 8526, which is CIA2, and the 8526, which is the CIA1. Top notch, top notch. This board is top notch. Haha, yes, I know. The CPU marked here as well, which is the tops there, it's correct. And then the VIC-2 chip, which is the 8565, the newer version. And this is actually R2 here as well. And then of course your SID chip, which is the only one that fits in the socket, but it's in number 1. And that is the 8580. So everything looks good there. And now I just have to put the keyboard on it. Let's see if this keyboard actually fits. This keyboard too, you have to buy yourself, or I took this off of a older 64C, so it actually matches the color scheme. And first thing we will do is the keyboard connector is here. Barely see it, but there it is, right literally on the side of this CIA chip. So you definitely know what chip controls the keyboard. It's literally sitting right by it, which is kind of nice. And the gap is here, where my finger was, and the gap on the keyboard will line up as well. And I will seat this on carefully. There we go. It's in place. Everything looks good. And now, without kicking the tripod more than I have to, there we go. And then this should fit in like so. Do the holes line up? It looks like they actually will. That's good. That's really, really good. And it's going to be a bit of a tight fit to get this keyboard on. So one moment while I try to line this up somewhere. Oh, there we go. It went into place. The holes do line up on this, which is really, really nice. So that looks good. So I just have to put the top screws in. This one seems to be a bit loose for some reason. Let me try to tighten that a bit more. Not sure why, because that's as tight as that goes. I guess that's, yeah, because it's the grommet that's there, so that's fine. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I don't want to have it over tightened, so I'm going to back it off a bit, and then it stops right there. Anyways, once the keyboard is mounted, it's going to firm all that up, so no big deal. I will go back to where I was, if I could get into the right position. Right, one moment. Okay. Any second now. There we go. So they gave you, I guess I can reposition this, screws as well. There's 2 of them here. And an Allen key for some reason, because I guess they prefer that. So one goes here. I guess I'll start that now. Oh, goodness gracious. Or I'll just start it by hand, maybe. Any second now, this will go in there. I'm not sure why they went with Allen keys, but who am I to argue? Yeah, that one started, so I'll leave that one a bit on the loose side right there. And then I'll try to get the one over here, get that one to start as well. With patience. And it is starting, so that's good. And try to get my hand out of the way there. You can hold this in to the edge a bit and tighten it. There's that one. There's the two. Everything is firm. Excellent. It is. I want to over tighten it. That's fine on that side and on this side. Damn, this is exciting stuff. Sorry about this. And there we go. Okay, excellent. And now to get the top on, shall I? And then when we're done the top part, I'll put these feet on too. Okay, I'm going to take a bit of a break. It requires thirst. I mean, something to drink. I'll be right back. Yes, I'll get that out of the way for a second. As you can see, I have the keyboard mounted and attached, but this thing here you saw previously comes with an instruction booklet of sorts that tells you everything you need to know on the assembly process and what it comes with, and the LED installation and these brackets, which you have to order separately, which you just saw me install. So all we have to do now is connect the LED, which I took the liberty of taking out of the bag right here and installing it in the top part of this case, which is right there. So this is obviously the top part of the case, and there's the LED slot there. So all I have to do is install this into here, which it's supposed to fit because it's from the same company. And I had problems before trying to do this off-screen practice just for this video. So I shall not bore you with this detail, and I will show you it assembled in one moment. And the moment has arrived. It's a tight fit, and it goes on a... Oops, I don't know if you can see it or not. It's a slight angle. Not even close. There we go. So it goes on a slight angle. It's not dead on, but basically pressure fitted in. It fits nicely, and you know, as you can see, it looks okay. So now I will put the top cover on, and we shall see how awesome this thing will look. I shall be right back. Actually, I forgot to show you something. Let me zoom in here. The LED header is right there, so it should be easy as pie to plug this in, and we'll see what difference it makes color wise if I plug it in this way or twist it the other way. We shall see. But for now I will let that go, and we'll see how this thing at least turns on, if the LED turns on, and I shall be right back. Okay, so as you can see here, I have the I kind of twisted the cabling to the LED. This makes it a bit neater and a bit more manageable. And the LED works fine. It's red. I'm not sure if it shows it on the camera, but it's a nice red color, which is fine, which is the standard color that they are on the Commodore 64. So I shall put the case on and show you what it looks like. I'll be right back. And here we are, the assembled unit. Just to let you know, I added a second SID chip since I don't really want to take this apart. Basically from the donor Commodore 64 where the keyboard came from, being a 64C, as you can tell because of the color combination, sorry. And as you can see though, it looks really, really nice. And I'll just, you can see the power's on. So I haven't hooked it up to a monitor or anything yet, but we will shortly. And I will turn this off and unplug it so I can show you how well everything goes together. So you can see the front looks really, really, really nice. And then the back of the unit as well. Need to get a bit further back here. The back of the unit looks, if maybe, yes, a bit higher up there. I wish I had an actual studio. There we go. I have very limited room in my apartment, but I've mentioned that before. So the back looks really nice, as you can see. You got your screws all in place here. Everything looks nice. The back ports line up really, really, really well with this case. And you can see, you know, the audio out, you know, the Super VHS, all your I/O connectors, user port, all that fun stuff lines up perfectly. And as well, the joystick ports, everything's great. One thing I forgot to mention about this switch, it's actually a 3-position. There's off, on, and then reset at the top. You can hear it. So perfect. You actually have a reset on this as well. So that's pretty much that. So what we're going to do is hook it up to a monitor and see if it actually works. I hope so, because it did before I put it in the case, but you know, luck. But I'm pretty sure all is well, and I will be back shortly.